Now, before I get into the cough-a-thon, that was the 8:30 p.m. main stage GOP debate on CNN. I want to talk about the first stage debate because that was important as well. But the topic was national security, which is a very big topic right now. You got people talking about terrorism, the issue with illegal immigration, people pouring over the southern border. You got the NSA going on. You got gun laws and rights going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. Now, the first debate, the debates in general had a lot of pomp and circumstance. You had people singing the national anthem. You had people posing for pictures. You had, and the commercials, man. Not the commercials, but when the debate was getting ready to come on, you had, I can't even really explain it. It's like if you ever seen the trailer for a cartoon called Dragon Ball Z, like really over the top, almost like you're watching college football, basketball, the Super Bowl, and I think they know that these are big ratings grabbers, but I think they did a little bit too much as far as the pomp and circumstance. So getting to the first debate, you had Rick Santorum, George Pataki, Lindsey Graham, and Mike Huckabee. And the moderator, you had Wolf Blitzer. And I think you also had Hugh Hewitt. And I think that might have been it. They get to asking questions about national security, of course. They're asking about Assad and Syria. Now, me personally, I think that they should leave Assad alone. Because if you listen to the Warhawk neocons, they'll tell you that Assad is somebody that needs to go. He's a puppet for Iran and Russia. But what the average person may not understand is that Assad is secular. Assad is who you want on your side because he's going to keep the radical Islamism to a minimum. He doesn't run his country like Saudi Arabia or Iran runs theirs. Their country is based on the Quran. The Quran is a law and nothing else. His country is more secular. If you go to Damascus, you'll find a strip club, you'll find a bar, you'll find churches, you'll find mosques. It's not that kind of zero tolerance. You going to jail for weed. You're getting hung for drinking alcohol like Iran or Saudi Arabia. It's not like that. So these people on stage get asked about Assad. Everyone pretty much says depose of him, which is a bad idea because that's what happened in Libya where you killed Gaddafi. Libya at one point was a secular state that was functional. Now you have a non-state ruled by terrorists. And the same thing goes on in Iraq. You had Saddam Hussein, who wasn't a saint, but who is a saint. I mean, our president isn't a saint, but that doesn't mean that people have the right to dispose him. I mean, at a certain point, a nation has to have its sovereignty. You may not agree with what a president does, but it doesn't give you a right to go in there and make a regime change. And not only does it not give you the right, it also doesn't make any sense if the regime change doesn't work, if it makes the place worse and it generates more terrorism. Now, I'm not going to be one of these people that sit here and say that the United States is responsible for terrorism because terrorism is something that's inherent with Islam. But what you shouldn't do is go over there and poke the bear and or create situations that intensify the terrorism and have that terrorism directed at you because they're upset with you now, rather than being upset at moderate Muslims who do not submit completely to the Sunni doctrine. Now they're coming after you because you have killed their father, their brother, and or you've destroyed their state and you took away their actual elected president, which in the case of Syria, he's the elected president. So it was a lot of Warhawking going on, a lot of neoconism going on. They're talking about creating a no-fly zone in Syria. It's like, come on, man, how you gonna do that? Now, what if Russia violates it? You gonna shoot their plane down? Now, if you do that, that's gonna be a problem because if you shoot Russia's plane down, not only will you fight Russia, who is a nuclear power, you will also fight China, and you will fight the whole Middle East because they have an unofficial / official alliance. The Chinese are already there in Syria, and so are the Russians. The Russians are there at the behest of Syria. Now, if you put a no-fly zone in Syria, you're going to create a lot of problems. So I wasn't really with the Warhawk neoconism. This is one area where I kind of agree with Obama. about not going to war, but I disagree with Obama about doing anything over there. Don't send drones over there, bomb people, and then take the people that you're bombing over here. You know, you say you don't want no boots on the ground, but what's the difference between having boots in the ground and then drone in the air? You know, the only thing that drone in the air does is just it saves lives from being killed in ground combat. But at the same time, what about people over there that get killed by the drones and or the terror that is generated from those drone attacks? Now you got people dying in Paris, France, and you got people that could be using that to be radicalized over here to do terror attacks. So I wasn't really feeling that whole Warhawking thing. But Lindsey Graham, I want to touch on Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is a strange character. His sexuality is not my business, but you know, they were asking the questions about going over the Middle East, and he's talking about holding hands, and he said that him and his Muslim male friend had cried, and he cried in his arms. It was really strange. His whole debate was centered around love, and it was like I was hearing like a MSNBC contributor for the LGBT community, not a serious GOP presidential candidate. You know, I think he would fit right in with Piers Morgan and them over there. He was all sunshine and roses. It's like, okay, what you want to do next? You want to have a jihadi tea party? I mean, come on. I'm not a war hawk, but really, that is not presidential. You want to talk about policy, and you want to talk about black and white X's and O's. You don't want to talk about love and harmony and holding hands. That's just ridiculous. That was pretty much the gist of the whole first debate. A lot of Warhawking, Lindsey Graham crying. Mike Huckabee made a little bit of sense, but he still was with the Warhawking as well. I wasn't really feeling that. Rick Santorum was confusing because he would kind of back off with the Warhawking and then kind of get back on it. It's like you're talking to somebody in Los Angeles, like an actor or an actress, and they pretty much go along with what you say to make the conversation go smooth. It's weird. He changes as the wind blows. Then on to the second debate, or the main stage debate at 8:30. Now you had more pomp and circumstance. You had the same guy speaking in a little trailer before with the dramatic music like Dragon Ball Z or Dragnet or 24 or some type of blockbuster movie. the crazy editing. It was almost like watching a trailer for a Battleship. It was really weird. And then you had the young lady singing. She's a former senator's daughter. I can't remember her name, but she sung very well. If I find a picture of her, I'll put it right here so you can see her. Very attractive young lady and sung very well. But I thought the whole pomp and circumstance was a little bit much. I think it may have been Wolf Blitzer on stage calling everybody out one by one. It's like I'm watching the basketball game, you know, live from San Francisco. You have Ben Carson, and he just comes out and the crowd cheers. It's like, all right, whatever. This is kind of ridiculous. I know they were in Vegas. I'm just making an example. So everybody comes out. You have Carly Fiorina. You have Jeb Bush. You have Ben Carson. You have John Kasich. You have Chris Christie. You have Donald Trump. You have, of course, you had Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. And of course, you have Rand Paul. This debate was pretty much the same as the first debate, but it was with more battling because, of course, Trump is there. He's the attractive figure. Everyone wants to battle Donald Trump. The way this debate was set up, it wasn't really for Trump to shine, in my opinion. You know, CNN is more of a liberal kind of station, so they try to have some shots thrown at Donald Trump, and they had a lot of shots thrown at Ben Carson. I mean, one question went, they were talking about war, and then I think it might have been Hugh Hewitt asked Ben Carson, would he be okay with children being killed by the thousands overseas? It's like, come on, man. Nobody's okay with kids being killed, but at the same time, if you're going to go to war, you're going to go to war. Civilian casualties are a thing that happens that nobody wants to have and would avoid if possible. But if they happen, then that's part of war. Now, it was a lot more neocon Warhawking on the stage. Rand Paul was one that was extremely against it. I'm going to say it right now. I think Rand Paul won. I wasn't really a Rand Paul fan. I thought he was too much of a of a libertarian, not really a conservative in a way that would be appealing to a broad audience. But I think in this debate, he's gained ground. Miss Carly Fiorina had on a red dress with a pretty large size cross pendant. I think it stood out a lot because everybody else, these are men. You got on dark color suits, blue and black, with either a blue or a red tie. And here she comes with a red dress, fire truck red. If I have a picture, I'll put it right here so you can see. Donald Trump, he didn't really say much as it relates to the topic, outside of the basic, build the wall. We're going to destroy ISIS. He had a lot of bravado and a lot of talk, but not much to actually back it up. I'm not really a fan or a hater of Donald Trump, but at the same time, I recognize that he's a very popular person. I respect it. He makes a lot of faces when people talk about him, and then they always show the split screen. Some of this was more WWE on the side of CNN. They're trying to get ratings, and I think this works. I think people know that kind of childish stuff gets people interested because the average American is not really going to be so much interested in foreign policy and complex laws that are so convoluted. You have to be a reader. You have to be a lawyer to be able to read the laws that they put out. But the average person likes wrestling. They like fights and sports where people just hit each other, brainless activities. So the fighting was entertaining, but it wasn't much fighting. You had Trump and Jeb that went at it. And by the way, I think Jeb did a great job. When I say great job, I don't mean that he did a good job. I just mean that he did better than he normally does. He normally comes off as an awkward little brother. But in this one, he came off more like his own man. He stood up to Trump. It's like Trump was a bully to keep beating him up. And then he finally just said, you know what? I'm going to just stand up and I'm going to make myself be, I'll make myself be respected. Outside of that, it seems like he just trained just to be able to fight Trump, to shine in those moments. But outside of that, he was still awkward and goofy. Even in his final statement, he stumbled over his final statement. He had a memorized thing he was going to say, and he jumbled up bits of the sentences. He said a piece of one sentence before it was time to actually say it. It's like he's nervous and goofy. I don't like Jeb for the simple fact that he's goofy, and he's establishment 100% of the way. I've heard somewhere that he has spent so far on his campaign $25 million. But what does he have to show for it? He would have much more to show for it if he wasn't so goofy, and if he wasn't down with the oligarchy, which is the Bush family, right? But then again, would he even be here if he wasn't in the oligarchy? I think not. Back to the actual debate. They're talking about banning Muslims, and was that something that was constitutional? I mean, that really didn't go anywhere. Trump didn't really answer the question, so it really didn't go anywhere. Now, there was a coalition mentioned that Saudi Arabia has of 34 countries that are dedicated to fighting ISIS. Again, here we go again with the coalition. Barack Obama said it at his speech, in the golf course tweet speech that lasted all of 5 minutes a few days ago, where he said there's a coalition of however many countries, and he didn't say who was on the coalition. Here we go again, Kasich. Who's on the coalition? Hashtag who's on the coalition? I don't know. And they talked about the NSA. They talked about data collection. Ted Cruz said that he voted to end the bulk data collection, but he voted to increase the different ways you can collect data. He said at one point you couldn't touch cell phones. You could only do landlines, but now you could touch cell phones and internet phones and stuff like that. You can get a little bit deeper. Marco Rubio accused Ted Cruz of taking certain things away that would be able to help, like the data collection. But Marco Rubio is not only a war hawk, he's for amnesty. And then in a debate, it was a little thing between him and Ted Cruz, because Rubio actually was a pot calling the kettle black, accusing Ted Cruz of protecting illegal immigrants, because he said something about the H-1B visa, which Ted Cruz didn't really address. So I might think that's true. But Rubio wants to have open borders. He even said it in this debate. He was talking about after 10 years they can apply for a green card. It's like, come on. You're hemming and hawing, you beating around the bush. You want amnesty. You want open borders. Throughout the debate, people like Rand Paul. People really like Rand Paul. Every time he said something, people had it was a big reaction. I wouldn't be surprised if Rand Paul went up in the ratings after this debate because I think he was the best one on the stage. Chris Christie had he speaks to the audience, looks in the video scope like Randy Savage did back in the day. He does that very well. Jeb Bush is goofy. Kasich is just a yeller, just a kind of a crass old uncle. Ben Carson was not good this debate. He was very quiet. He is regressing. I think he just be. I think personally he's just tired. I don't think he's used to the grind that a political career is. When you're trying to campaign, when you're trying to get jobs, when you're trying to get a job for yourself, when you're trying to get in office, it's a grind. I don't think he's really used to it. He looked visibly tired, and somebody was coughing the entire time. I'm not sure who was coughing. I saw a clip that showed Ben Carson coughing. I'm not sure if it was just him coughing or if it was Wolf Blitzer or if it was somebody else on stage. And I kept asking the question, hey, is there a button you can push that'll turn off your mic? Because I have a mic right now that I got from Amazon for a small amount of money, and there's a little switch on it that I can cut off and you can't hear me. So why didn't they have that technology on the stage at a GOP debate in front of the millions of people? I don't understand. Every other minute, somebody was coughing. I didn't get it. I didn't understand. Also, the sound in general was kind of bad. The guy coughing, whoever it was bad enough, but the sound in general was bad. A lot of the mics, some of the mics were lower than other mics at times. There was a lot of static sometimes. It was really weird. I don't know. Somebody would get fired over that because the sound issues are bad and the coughing. I'm not sure who did that. If I find out who was coughing in between now and the time I actually get this video into my editing software and get it done, I'll put the picture up right here. But all in all, it was a lot of Warhawk. It was a lot of kind of the same old thing. Like at this point, I think these debates need to kind of slow down. And if you're gonna have debates, have it be in a different format. And don't have it be just like a ratings grab each time. Don't have the pomp and circumstance. Just kind of have it just be less. And cut the first debate. I see what it is. People just want you to watch TV for an extended period of time. Because I watched it from 6 o'clock when the coverage first started online on the stream all the way until after 11 p.m. with just small breaks in between. Right? So you're talking about 5 hours. They want to have you for that long to feed as much commercials down your throat as possible. And at a certain point, it's like, come on. Shorten the debate. A lot of those guys on the first debate, really, the people who need to actually go ahead and go home. Pataki, I had no idea was still running. Matter of fact, I had no idea Pataki was running at all until just now today. And I'm a political junkie. I had no idea he was running. He can actually go home today. Rick Santorum can go home today, but he might be somebody's VP candidate because he hasn't really attacked anybody that I've seen, and no one's really attacked him. So he might be a safe bet for a VP. He has a nice look. He looks young, kind of a handsome guy. He can be a VP. And let's see, Mike Huckabee can go. Nice guy, but he can go. And Lindsey Graham, oh my goodness, he can just go plant flowers in the garden or something, man. Like, he's just not strong enough to be any kind of. He doesn't need to be in government at all, in my humble opinion. Maybe be a community organizer or a mayor, maybe for a small city, but not to be on the national stage talking to Putin. It's like, come on. Ben Carson can go. I like Ben Carson. I thought Ben Carson might be the nominee, but I don't think he has the energy necessary to be to continue. Donald Trump, I'm torn about Donald Trump because he says things and does things that are very liberal. I'm not really, Donald Trump has more of a liberal mind state, in my humble opinion, than the average conservative does. So I'm torn. I really don't know what to think. My top three would be Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, and pickings are slim. I say probably Donald Trump still. Jeb Bush can go home today. Marco Rubio is a liberal for all intents and purposes. You know, I know he's Cuban, but he's more like a Mexican activist than an actual United States government member. He can go. And I think that's pretty much it. All in all, somewhat entertaining debate. I think they can actually hold off on the debates for a while. And if they're going to do another debate, cut it down. Don't have the pre-debate, the JV or the pre-stage, and then the main stage afterwards. Just have one debate. Let it be 2 hours from 8 to 10 and let everybody be done. And have the debate stage be only like 6 people. That's it. And then you're able to get a true debate. Carly Fiorina was crying about people arguing on the stage, but it's like, all right, Fiorina, you might get a reaction from the audience that's there because they're right in front of your face. But at a certain point, you have to understand what a debate is. A debate means people talk amongst each other, they argue, and they debate issues. That's what it is. So don't cry about the debate format being an actual debate. That's pretty much all I got for this. I'll put some reference links in the description box below. And if you guys got anything to say, tell me, what did you think about the debate? Who do you think won the debate? Who do you think was weakest? Who do you think had strong moments? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like what you heard in this video, please comment, rate, share, subscribe. Peace.